Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. It's your host, Street Urchin.
Who else could it be?
Recently I asked you guys what you'd like to see more of on my channel, and it turns out that, I guess most of you hate me, because you know that every time I talk about relationships, a little piece of my soul just kind of, disappears. But it's, it's whatever, because I have a new idea coming up that I think everyone's gonna love. But today we're gonna go ahead and talk about more relationship stuff. The MBTI system doesn't give us a whole lot of useful, reliable information. The best it's gonna do is give you an idea of what someone's default responses and thoughts are gonna be, which of course is helpful if you're trying to score a free drink at the bar. Not all that great when determining whether or not your husband is gonna cheat on you, but you should definitely, keep an eye on your ESFP. However, there is some useful information to help you decide what you might be okay with in a long-term relationship. These are, of course, the 8 cognitive functions. You know those things that Reddit and Facebook keep forgetting about? These cognitive functions have specific roles. Introverted sensing is about memory, extroverted feeling is about social stability. So we can at least make a determination as to how someone generally behaves with these functions in the lead position. Since misanthropy is my, second love language, we won't be discussing the positives you're likely to see. We will be discussing how it's likely to force you back into the dating scene, because humans suck. So let's start with the thinking functions. Introverted thinking is about personal logic, deduction, reasoning. It's about taking the time to think with accuracy. Some of you have probably noticed that it's becoming a bit uncommon these days. The first problem you're going to notice is stagnancy with big decisions. It often likes to drag ass on buying a car, choosing a career, going to college. The second issue is going to be the one that tries to pull your hair out. We'll call them disagreements. Introverted thinking requires that you connect the dots. That means that if you don't enjoy thinking things through, after a while your significant other is regularly going to point out things that you say or do that don't make logical sense. Bet that sounds fun, doesn't it? But now it's time to flip that over and take a look at a much more commonly used function, extroverted thinking. It seeks logic and consistency in the outside world. Or to put it in another way, when it comes to logic and consistency, it just believes what everyone else says. This cognitive function shoots first and asks questions later. It wants whatever is already written down. It wants to be accepted by others. The obvious problem you may have with it will be predictability. Extroverted thinking is just an organic Google machine. Whatever the most popular answer is to a question, that is the answer they're likely to give. So if your boyfriend has a strong preference for it, don't bother asking what he has deduced. More often than not, he's going to grab the answer from someone else. Another issue will be in the form of acting before thinking. This function is prone to finding answers quickly and then, moving on. More money equal good. More authority equal good. And it will steamroll over your plans without thinking how it might affect others, believing that it was the objectively correct thing to do. It's also becoming the more dominant thinking function, and so, good luck. Alright, now it's time to talk about the feelings. How could this happen to me? Introverted feeling covers morals, values, general emotions. Those things that I have very little of. There's some obvious problems that will come along with that. One being that your feels and values may contradict with your significant other's feels and values. For baseline stuff, you'll probably agree. Murder is wrong, people starving is bad, homelessness is cruel and unusual punishment. But it's gonna be the smaller stuff that will most likely drive you to the loony bin. They will complain or praise things solely based on whether or not it makes them feel good. And they most certainly don't feel the need to rationalize those decisions. This can be rather costly to your bank account, especially if you come home one day and find that most of your interior has been redecorated. Because, and I quote, the living room felt depressing. I'm not getting that money back. Now on to a
completely different function,
extroverted feeling. Now I've spent a good deal of my MBTI career talking great things about this function. It's respectful, it wants harmony between people, keeps the social setting smooth. But it turns out there can be too much of a good thing. And what it looks like is very apparent to those who have a lead preference for it. You will get along. It's why stronger preferenced FE users don't bring me along to every social setting. If you are seen as a problem, you will be hammered down or excluded. Remember the mean girls from high school? Started rumors about you because you were different, or you didn't always get along? That would have been your stereotypical ESFJ. So if your significant other has a strong preference for it, you will dress appropriately, you will be respectful, you will not get faced and talk about shadowy overlords, because how people see you reflects on the extroverted feeler. Alright, we've made it over that hurdle. How about sensing?
Is it right for you?
Introverted sensing is about memory. Great for organizing, not so great for innovation. If you're looking for a consistent human being, then introverted sensors are the way to go. Steadfast in their traditions, unflinching in their trust of history. that might get boring. Any wacky out-of-the-box thinking when it comes to finding a solution will generally be dismissed, and most likely to be touted as a waste of time. Probably not wrong. You will also be expected to fulfill a role based on your significant other's traditions. If your lead introverted sensor expects you to work yourself near to death for 52 hours a week, then by God, that's what you'll be doing. Or you'll find yourself right back on Tinder. And remember, introverted sensing is one of the normal functions. A strong preference for it makes up nearly 50% of the US population, and I suspect that number is only going to go up from there. Extroverted sensing, however, is a bit more laid back. This function focuses on the real, the here and now, what the five senses experience, physical awareness, and hard data. It is a no abstract zone. Don't bother wasting a great deal of your time talking about abstract concepts that have no clear benefit, unless you're talking to an ESTP, in which case they'll listen if they think it'll get you to remove your clothing. Then forget all of it the day after. This can be particularly frustrating when all of your ideas get shot down with the phrase, "I don't see how that's going to work." You may hear that a lot during a long-term relationship with them. Extroverted sensing is also prone to spontaneity, attention deficit disorder. It's easily distracted by the physical, which can be pretty lights or just smelling food, so it may require you to come up with some more inventive ways to hold their attention. Okay, now for the moment 90% of you have been waiting for. We come to the intuitive functions. Introverted Intuition. This function looks at the consistency of thoughts and ideas with a personal framework, which is to say, if this idea interferes with my plans, it gets thrown out. It's obviously a very attractive quality if you're trying to catch a ride with someone to the top. It's not an attractive quality if you want someone to focus on you. The phrase self-centered is a pretty apt way to describe this function when it's in the lead position. That's not to say it's outwardly inconsiderate or selfish. It means that when plans are made, it generally needs to be involved. Otherwise, it's time wasted that could have been used to further a career. And to those that preference it, they will let you know their frustrations one way or another. One of the bigger problems comes from the lack of preference for the perspectives of others. They're so busy focusing on themselves that when they snap back to reality, they can easily find their family life in shambles, their relationships ruined, and their pets gone. But hey, they're most likely going to be making a lot of money to afford those alimony and child support payments. And at the end of this exhausting-ass list, we come to extroverted intuition. I would trade for introverted intuition, to be honest. In the upper tiers of preference, this function acts as a rather active imagination, envisioning scenarios, abstract concepts, perspectives across the board. Now, how could that ever cause problems? If you're looking for someone whose top 3 personality traits include procrastination, then your search is over. Extroverted intuition is a near crippling disorder that puts its users into a rather lengthy bout of indecision. If you ask them if and when they're going to take out the trash, you'd probably get a more accurate answer from an 8-ball. This would be what I'd call an advanced relationship function. In many cases, the word proactive would not begin to describe your efforts in keeping the relationship functional. If left in charge, chores are regularly not going to get done, bills are going to be paid late, and being focused on conversation is going to be a thing of the past. This is the only function I slap a warning label on, if the person in question has a strong preference for it. And those are my thoughts on the 8 cognitive functions and how they are likely to screw you over in a relationship. I hope you found it helpful in realizing that all humans are terrible. If you enjoyed what you saw, make sure to like and subscribe. They say the first 1,000 subs are the hardest, so feel free to share my videos with whoever you want. All relevant links are below, and I'll see you next time. Bye!